Probably the most common question that I'm asked by people when I mention that I think that there's not a need for government. The question I'm asked is, well, yeah, but how would such and such be handled in the absence of government? Because right now, the government handles, if there's a child molester, the government is who handles that. The government is who handles providing roads and who provides schooling for children, for lower middle class children. And so the question then is, well, if the government's not here, how do we get those things? And it's not really an appropriate question for why there shouldn't be government. Because the reason there shouldn't be government isn't because they're lousy at providing certain services. That's not my argument at all. I mean, I think that's true, but they're not very good at what they do. But that's not my reason for thinking it's a really crummy way for society to let itself be run. My reason is a moral reason. So just as one would not say, well, but how's a guy going to have dinner on his table at 5:30 every night if he doesn't beat his wife? Well, that's not the right question. The point is, don't beat your wife. Beating your wife is wrong, so don't do that. If dinner's not on the table, that's a whole nother issue that might be a problem, might not be, but you guys can figure it out and work it out. The issue isn't that we're going to keep doing a bad thing until we find a solution for the other thing. No. If something bad is happening, then stop doing that thing that is bad. And for me, what I believe is wrong with government, just right from the beginning, and there are so many things, but the one kind of the first hurdle that I've never been able to figure out a way to get over is the theft. The government steals, and I think stealing is wrong. And I don't think that a government could exist without stealing. If it didn't steal, if it didn't coerce, and it didn't, I'm not going to say rob, but mainly extortion, taxation. If it's not extorting, how does it make the money to survive? How does it exist? And it can't. And if you can provide me with an example of a government that exists without any taxes, every single penny that the government gets into its purse comes voluntarily. People donate or whatever. If you can show me an organization that does that, it's not government. That's part of the definition of government. If somebody provides protection, for example, you say, well, we have to have a government because we don't want people to steal stuff from us. So we have to have a government to provide that service. Well, if there's a security company that does it and you say, see, that's a government. No, it's not a government. It's a private business. And the list can go on and on with private schooling, with any problem that you come up with and say, well, the government has always been the one to do this or that, and we have to have it for that reason. No. There will be a private organization that will come in and do it, and they're very difficult to compete with the government. It's tough for the private companies to compete with the government. For example, public transportation. I know I'm jumping all over, but think about all these points and come up with arguments for any of them. Think about government transportation, city buses and such. It's really hard to compete with the kind of budget that the local transit system gets. How does some little Uber driver compete with them? And yet they do. The free market still demands quality and choice, and so people come out and do what they have to do to make things happen. So I celebrate that. I think that's wonderful, but that is not government. So you can't show me any example that I know of. I've never had anyone show me an example of government and say it gets its money voluntarily. Can't happen. So therefore, every penny that money gets is through theft. And if you believe theft is wrong, which I happen to believe, then government can't exist without being wrong. And if stealing's wrong, that's just it is what it is. Government's bad, government's wrong, shouldn't exist. And even if you can't come up with solutions for every little problem, doesn't mean government should exist.